Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. Thanks for checking it out if you're new. Wanda Maximoff, aka the Scarlet Witch, has had quite the presence in the MCU. Debuting in Avengers Age of Ultron, the character has gained quite a strong following. She would go on to make additional appearances in Captain America Civil War and Avengers Infinity War, where her fan base continued to grow. Shortly after Avengers Endgame, Wanda would go on to star in her own Disney Plus show, Wandavision. Set as the first Disney Plus show, Wandavision took the world by storm, gaining rave reviews, a massive fan base, and becoming the most well-received of the MCU shows. The series followed Wanda Maximoff as she bent reality to live in the sitcoms from her childhood, during which Wanda used magic to create herself a family, complete with her sons, Billy and Tommy, her husband Vision, and her brother Pietro. By the end, it was revealed that Wanda's hex was being manipulated by an evil witch named Agatha Harkness. Agatha planned to drain Wanda of her powers due to her being the prophesied Scarlet Witch. Agatha and Wanda ended up battling it out, with Wanda eventually defeating Agatha and placing her under another hex. Wanda had to say goodbye to her family and left in exile, taking with her Agatha's dark book of spells known as the Darkhold. When it was released, WandaVision was billed as a limited series. This means it's a one-season order with a limited number of episodes. However, many fans called for a second season of the series, saying that Wanda's story wasn't over. MCU President and Chief Creative Officer Kevin Feige even played around with the idea of Wanda returning to Disney+. However, before she could, she had to make a small detour to make Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. Fans could not have been more excited for the return of the Scarlet Witch in Multiverse of Madness. Only there was one slight problem. You see, the people who made Multiverse of Madness did not watch WandaVision. Yeah, so basically they ruined Wanda's arc from WandaVision and did all of her quote-unquote character development or downslide off-screen. Here, she's the villain, chasing down a small child to harvest and sacrifice them in order to bring variants of her children from another dimension here to our current universe. There's also not a single mention of Vision or Pietro in the whole movie. And then at the end of all of it, Wanda feels bad and kills herself, destroying the Darkhold with her. Yeah. All of this feels incredibly rushed after we left Wanda in a pretty okay place at the end of WandaVision. Was she set up to potentially fall to the dark side? Yes. But certainly not in the next project. That's an arc you build over time. On top of that, killing Wanda off so early in her story, especially at the height of her popularity, is a terrible idea. That being said, we all know she's not really dead or will be back soon. So, where will the Scarlet Witch show up next? Well, that's a little tricky. As you may have noticed, the MCU has a million buns in the oven right now. It's starting to become like comics, where you just can't watch it all, or can't keep up with it all at once. And all of these projects are being managed by different people. I mean, that's how the WandaVision to Multiverse of Madness errors happened. Because you had one creative team working on this, while at the same time, a creative team working on the sequel before this was even finished. And they didn't look at this. Sounds like a recipe for disaster, in my opinion. Jack Schaefer was the showrunner of WandaVision and is currently working on spin-offs for Agatha and Vision, respectively. Her corner of the MCU seems to be the only coherent one in the MCU right now. So, once she's finished with those projects, I'd like to see her take on Scarlet Witch: The Last Door. The Last Door is Wanda's most recent comic run that just came to an end last year. In this comic, Wanda attempts to make amends for all the damage she's done over the years via a spell known as the Last Door. The Last Door brings those at their lowest or most in need to Wanda, where she must help them solve their problems. Think kinda like My Name is Earl. This tale is full of mystery, comedy, and action, which I think makes it perfect for Disney+. Wanda is in need of a redemption arc right now, and this story could do it for her. The episodes would all vary in length, needing to be as long as they need to, kind of like The Mandalorian. I'm thinking this show would be similar to an approach of She-Hulk, in that it is lighthearted and can be fun, but this show would be a little more serious and have some serious conversations with Wanda and her character arc so far. The show shouldn't be afraid to make people laugh, but it should also be able to drive home the emotional moments. Alright, so before we can get started, we do have some homework. We have the current problem of Wanda being dead/MIA in the MCU, at least at the time of filming this. That being said, there are 3 shows currently set in the Jack Schaefer corner of the MCU being developed right now. And of those, I could see 2 of them, the Vision show and the Agatha show, being used to reintroduce Wanda into the MCU. In my head, I envision it going something like this. Wanda is resurrected or found in some witch dimension in Agatha's show. She leaves to go better herself at the end. And in the post-credits scene of the Vision show, we see Wanda starting up her magic shop and creating the last door. Alright, so now, on with the show. This is going to be my kind of rough pitch of the show. I am fully admit, I didn't go in depth and write all the dialogue and every little action sequence. This is a broad, general summarization of kind of how you could structure the show and even how you could go beyond what I'm going to say here. So Chapter 1 is The Last Door. So Episode 1 would pretty much be a direct adaptation of Issue 1 of the comic. Wanda has opened a magic emporium, selling various artifacts and potions. In the back of her shop is a magic red door, a spell of Wanda's own creation, known as the Last Door. This spell, meant to help Wanda make up for all the wrong she has done in the world, brings those in the most dire situations and in the greatest need of help to Wanda. Wanda is required via the spell to help them and must never ask questions. Accompanying Wanda on this venture is her newest employee, Darcy Lewis, last seen in Wandavision and Thor: Love and Thunder. Darcy has come to the Last Door, but we the viewers don't know why. Darcy and Wanda can have a conversation where Wanda exposition dumps all of this to us and how she wants to make up for her actions in Wandavision and Multiverse of Madness. Ending with Darcy quipping about how, yeah, that was pretty messed up. As these 2 are talking, the door begins to glow and a woman speaking a foreign language stumbles out. We learn from Wanda that the door has a universal translator charm on it, as the woman's ramblings turn to English. The woman acknowledges who Wanda is, noting she's an Avenger, to which Wanda notes, not anymore. The woman comes to Wanda, pleading to her that her small town is being held hostage by a man with persuasive abilities. In the comics, this is just a minor telepath. In the original version of this pitch, I did say that you could maybe slip the Purple Man in there, but with the release of Echo, they have since said that the Netflix shows are canon, so can't do that. Really, it doesn't matter and can be any magical telepathic villain. Wanda, feeling especially guilty about what she did in Westview, agrees to help, noticing that the young woman's necklace has a certain property that appears to repel magical abilities. The woman remarks that it was her grandmother's. Traveling to the town, Wanda battles the mind-controlled citizens using non-lethal methods, of course. Wanda eventually confronts the telepath running the show, who calls out her hypocrisy after the Westview event. Wanda can give a speech about how she now knows that what she did was wrong and is trying to move past that. The telepath can remark that there are some things you can't move past, noting Wanda has a darkness inside her still. That remark will catch Wanda off guard, but she knows what he's talking about and proceeds to cancel out his powers using the young woman's necklace, leading to his arrest. The citizens thank Wanda for freeing them, and the woman gives Wanda her necklace as a thank you, to which Darcy remarks she would love to research its anti-magic properties. As the episode comes to a close, Wanda and Darcy are hanging out in the shop, having a coffee or something and remarking on the day's events. Darcy can mention that she tried researching the stone and found that it doesn't match anything she could find. She makes the remark that maybe one of the Avengers could help figure it out. In a post-credit scene, the door would begin to glow, and out walks America Chavez. And that would be the start of Scarlet Witch: The Last Door. While maybe not the most exciting start to the show, it definitely introduces the rules of The Last Door, as well as sets up some of the mysteries we'll see, like why Darcy walked through, or what this anti-magic stone is. And then after this point, each episode would be titled, Chapter X, and then whoever comes through the door in that episode. Just like The Mandalorian, we would not know the title of the episode until it airs. So moving on to Chapter 2, America Chavez. Episode 2 will be a loose adaptation of the second issue in the series. in which Wanda helps Vivian, the daughter of Vision. Now, obviously, at the time of writing this, Viv does not exist in the MCU, and so I thought we could use America Chavez from Multiverse of Madness, since that is a character that has a connection with Wanda. Wanda and America sit and have tea, reminiscing on their horrific time together in Multiverse of Madness. Darcy can make a meta joke about, oh, isn't that the girl you tried to kill to get your magic kids back? With Wanda remarking that she wasn't in a good place at the time, or something like that. America can also make a meta joke about, the whole time you were trying to kill me, you never even mentioned your brother. So then Wanda can ask what brings America to her, and America can explain that she was dreaming, to which Wanda remarks she thought America couldn't do that, which is exactly the problem. In her dreams, she finds herself in Mount Wundagore, being hunted by demons until she eventually meets a horrific death. In order to get to the bottom of this, Wanda agrees to cast a spell that will send America and herself into America's dream. During this time, Darcy is on shop duty. In the dream, Wanda and America find themselves in Mount Wundagore that eventually shifts to Wanda's home from Wandavision / the 838 home from Multiverse of Madness. During which Wanda can remark that she saw something about this in the Darkhold. This is the work of a dream demon. In the comic, it's revealed that this is Dream Queen, the daughter of Nightmare, who's here to feed off of Viv's misery. Now, again, obviously at this time, Nightmare was never introduced. He was supposed to show up in Multiverse of Madness, but he never made it into the final cut of the film. So here, I thought this would be a fun time to use him. Wanda, America, and Nightmare could engage in a big magic fight that eventually ends with Nightmare pointing out that he can't be harmed in his own dimension. He taunts Wanda about losing Vision, Pietro, and the boys. Wanda uses this to gain the upper hand, offering to give her mystery in exchange for America's freedom. Nightmare agrees and lets them go, only for Wanda to reveal afterwards that her misery was also enchanted to taint Nightmare's taste, leaving him suffering from Wanda's misery. As the two wake up, America thanks Wanda and leaves as Darcy comes into the back room to let Wanda know that there's some guy in the shop asking for her. Wanda steps out to find Wong waiting for her. Chapter 3, Wong. Episode 3 will be based on a mini-story from the end of issue 2. Here, Storm attempts to deliver a package to Wanda and then gets roped into a magical journey in which Wanda attempts to retrieve an artifact that requires 2 magic users to retrieve it. Since Storm hasn't been introduced in the MCU yet and the X-Men are nowhere in sight, I thought we could use Wong. He also has an interesting relationship with Wanda, seeing as, she came and blew his house up and tried to kill him on multiple occasions in Multiverse of Madness. So Wong would be there and ask for Wanda's help in obtaining a magical artifact that requires both a sorcerer and a witch, as the MCU seems to have established there is a difference, even if it's not clear what makes them different. As the two go off on their journey, they can have a moment where Wanda apologizes and Wong can talk about the temptations of dark magic. The journey as a whole would be shown via little snippets and montages. Once the two finally reach the artifact, they would have to face some kind of demon or spirit that again requires 2 magic users, a sorcerer and a witch, to defeat. After everything is said and done, the two would return to the shop, where Wong would thank Wanda for her help. Wanda could then make a remark that she hopes this is a step in the right direction to earn Carmitage's forgiveness. Wong can say that it will take some time, but this was a good start before leaving. I have a rewrite of my own here in episode 3. In a post-credit scene inspired by friend of the channel Morgan M. Steele and a deleted scene from the home release of Wandavision, we would learn that while Wong and Wanda were gone, Ralph Boner came through the last door. Ralph was hoping to get his ankle bracelet removed and attempts to explain why to Darcy, but she doesn't really care, and she just snips it off and sends him on his way. Chapter 4, Hawkeye. Chapter 4 will be a very loose adaptation of the 3rd issue in the comic series, during which Wanda's sister Polaris comes to town to help her investigate the anti-magic stone, and then they go off on a journey together. Again, as I keep saying, Polaris isn't in the MCU. Mutants and X-Men are slowly showing up, but not quick enough, so I thought we could replace her with Clint Barton, aka Hawkeye. This is arguably the Avenger that Wanda has the best connection with, While their relationship may not have been on screen the most, they are clearly friends. It's Hawkeye who actually recruits Wanda to the Avengers at the end of Age of Ultron, breaks her out of the Avengers compound in Civil War, and comforts her over the loss of Vision at the end of Endgame. It's not a ton to go off of, but he's the only Avenger besides maybe Cap that I can see her having this outside of work relationship with. Also, I know at the end of Hawkeye's series it's implied that he's retired and given the mantle to Kate Bishop, but we can say that for this one, because Wanda is a friend, he would come back for one last job. So the episode would start with Clint arriving with some information from the scans of the anti-magic stone Darcy sent over at the end of episode 1. He'd mentioned that Bruce couldn't find anything either, that it seems to be thousands of years old, and that Bruce came up with the very unique name of Mysterium for it. During his visit, Clint would check in on Wanda, ask her about the shop, and Wanda could explain the last door. During said explanation, Quaz from Ant-Man Quantumania would step through the door. I know what you're thinking. Why? Well, in the original comic, Wanda and Polaris do go off to Subatomica in order to help a refugee in need. Also, the MCU wasted William Jackson Harper in Quantumania, giving him this role instead of casting him as Mr. Fantastic. So, I figured, let's at least give him more screen time. Give him more to do. So, Quaz is here to then ask Wanda for help in continuing the fight with the remnant of Kang's forces. So the two would go off with Quaz through a magic portal to the quantum realm, while again Darcy stays behind. During their journey, Wanda and Clint can reminisce on the Avengers and the state of the team / their lives now. Clint can talk about his retirement and his family, while Wanda can talk about wanting to make up for all the damage she has done. These two could also have an interesting dynamic / conversation about how Wanda did what she did for her family, and how Clint can understand that, referring back to his time as Ronin. By the end of it, they would defeat some faceless general, it doesn't really matter, and leave the quantum realm in a better place. Clint and Wanda would return to Earth via a magic portal outside the front of the shop. The two can have a quick conversation about Wanda not being too hard on herself before he leaves. Wanda would see Clint off via magic portal with a keep in touch as the front wall of the shop explodes behind her. Emerging from the shop would be a large Amazonian woman carrying an unconscious Darcy. Chapter 5, Darcy. Chapter 5 would pretty much be a direct, word-for-word, one-to-one adaptation of the 4th issue of the comic. The giant woman from last episode would introduce herself as Scythia, Queen of the Amazons. I went back and forth on leaving her as an Amazon, as we haven't had any Amazons introduced in the MCU. It's also a little tricky because DC uses the Amazons pretty frequently with Wonder Woman, so you have kind of that brand confusion. I debated making her an Asgardian for a while, just because they already exist in the MCU, and the MCU does simplify things like that. However, we could also just accept the Amazons exist, especially after Thor Love and Thunder established all of these pantheons and gods of different beliefs and religions do exist. Scythia would explain that the Amazons live amongst normal people, surviving as protectors of women and the abused. During a mission, Scythia witnessed Darcy defending another woman at a club from an abuser, and decided to recruit her for the Amazons. However, on the night of her initiation, Darcy killed an Amazon and fled, and therefore must be brought back to face justice. Obviously, Wanda isn't going to let Scythia just take Darcy, and a fight begins. The two can have an interesting fight, with Scythia using brute strength on the offense, while Wanda uses a lot of magic on the defense. At some point in the fight, Scythia would realize she can't take Wanda head on, and would start to target nearby civilians. In an attempt to save the people, Wanda would open herself up to an attack from Scythia. Just as Scythia would believe she has the upper hand on Wanda, Wanda would drop her through a portal that puts her on the outskirts of town as Wanda puts a protective barrier across the town line. Darcy could make a cute joke about if this barrier is really safe, because, last time Wanda put up a barrier, Darcy ended up in a traveling circus. Wanda would assure her the barrier is safe, no sitcoms this time, and then ask for an explanation of what just happened. Darcy would explain via flashbacks to Wanda that she was researching the Amazons, finding an entire society of women fascinating. It would be revealed that her rescue of the assaulted woman was actually just an act to get Cynthia's attention. On the night of her initiation, one of the Amazons discovered her deceit and attempted to kill her, and Darcy ended up killing her in self-defense. During her escape from Cynthia, Darcy ended up stumbling through the last door. The two could have a conversation about how it seems that they both have made mistakes that they regret, and that closes out the episode. Chapter 6, Cynthia. Episode 6 would be heavily inspired by issue 5 of the original comic. We would open with Wanda finishing repairs on the shop via magic. Elsewhere, we see Cynthia returning to the town border, now adorned in Mysterium armor. She immediately smashes through the town barrier, gaining the attention of Wanda. She explains that she's not leaving without Darcy, and Wanda has made herself an enemy of the Amazons too. The two would begin to fight, with Wanda realizing Cynthia is unbothered by magic, thanks to the Mysterium. Cynthia could explain that the material is one used by the Amazons for years in their battles against gods and other magic users throughout history. During this fight, Cynthia would ultimately gain the upper hand on Wanda, and would move in for the killing blow. However, Wanda manages to end the fight when she notices a gap in Cynthia's armor, threatening to kill them both if it means protecting Darcy and this town. Cynthia acknowledges Wanda is a brave warrior who's clearly willing to give her life for the abused and defenseless, gaining her respect. In the closing moments, Wanda and Darcy would have a conversation, during which Wanda would say Darcy is free to leave now that she's solved her problem, which brought her through the door. However, Darcy chooses to stay and continue to help Wanda run the shop, while also continuing her research on the Mysterium. Chapter 7, Agatha. Chapter 7 would be a loose adaptation of the annual number 1, which came after those first 5 issues finished. The episode would open with Agatha cornering a demon who was plotting to attack Wanda. From this demon, we would learn that when Wanda quote-unquote killed herself in Multiverse of Madness and destroyed the Darkhold, she actually bound the Darkhold as well as the demon Kython to her soul. This, of course, gains Agatha's interest in Wanda once again. So the next day, while Wanda is busy, just cleaning around the shop and everything, in through the front door walks Agatha. Once again, Wanda is on the defensive, but curious to hear what Agatha wants. Agatha appears to be peaceful and claims that she's just here to help Wanda, just to check in. She heard about her little shop and wants to see if it's going to end up like that Westview project again. During this time, Agatha can also attempt to address Kython and the Darkhold being bound to Wanda's soul, to which Wanda acknowledges she knows this. This was what the telepath in episode 1 was referring to when he said there was a darkness still in Wanda. So Wanda knows that they're bound to her, and this is her attempt to keep Kython and the Darkhold out of the multiverse. Of course, Agatha doesn't believe Wanda can handle this power, and the two begin a big old magic fight. At the end of the fight, Wanda gets the upper hand and proves herself to Agatha, and the two decide to enjoy each other's presence as witches, gaining a new respect for each other, or so it seems. Agatha promises that she will still keep an eye out on Wanda before departing. Following Agatha back to her coven, we would learn that she was secretly looking for an end to Wanda's soul, attempting to retrieve the Darkhold for herself again. In a post-credit scene, we would see two criminals about to commit some kind of heinous action, whether it be vandalism or robbing someone. It doesn't really matter what crime that they're going to commit. However, before they can commit that crime, a blue blur, faster than the speed of light, rushes by and takes the two criminals away before they can finish their evil deed. And that would be the end of Season 1 of Scarlet Witch: The Last Door. Yes, that's right. I would think of this as a at least 2-season, like Loki story, and we would go into that knowing that. You didn't know it at the time of the start of this pitch, but yes, this would be a multiple season show. So I did this first video using the first 5 issues and the annual as the basis for Season 1, And then I am currently working on another pitch for a season 2 using the back half of issues 6 through 10 of the series. That being said, with this pitch that I came up with, I did stick pretty close to the comics. Like I said, kind of just subbing out the comic book characters for MCU characters. There are, I'm sure, some original ideas. Like, I did also kind of play around with Ralph Bohner having an entire episode himself. But again, I rewrote that after Morgan made that end credits joke. So as of now, the current season I pitched has 7 episodes, but you could definitely do more. You could have just any resident of Westview stumble in, and they could have just any mundane problem. Or they could be struggling with the trauma of what Wanda did to them and almost have a therapy session. I thought about having Billy or Tommy from Earth 3-8, the Earth we saw in Multiverse of Madness, stumble through the portal. I question, are we crossing dimensions and universes with this door? So that's why I ultimately cut that one. But I do think that would be an interesting concept. In a good way, maybe to bring the boys back before, or at least bring back those younger versions of the boys before I assumedly get the aged up versions in the Young Avengers. Morgan M. Steele and Phil with 1L also pointed out you could have someone from Lagos. That's where the opening of Civil War, when Wanda, takes the guy and throws him up trying to save everyone from the bomb and ends up blowing up like that apartment complex or whatever it was. So there are plenty of other people Wanda has hurt that you could have stumbled through the door. This season could be longer than the 7 I pitched. And I think maybe that would spread out the mystery a little more. But if you wanted it to be straightforward, this is what I gave you. This was just a fun little idea I had. Again, obviously it would need beefed up and more fleshed out and turned into actual scripts and screenplays. But I thought this was a fun little experiment. Let me know in the comments below if you've read The Last Door and if you think it could work. It's very funny and lighthearted while also touching on serious tones, especially with the things Wanda has done. And I do think it has that mystery of the Mysterium, which we didn't answer here. And I left you on the cliffhanger of the blue blur. I'm sure most of you can figure out what that is. But you'll have to tune in next time to find out how that plays into Season 2 of Scarlet Witch, The Last Door. Thank you all so much for watching. If you liked what you saw here, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you know when that next one's coming. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.